Illinois Fighting Illini, 5 wins, including 4 in conference in year 1 under Bret Bielema, who enters his second season with the least returning production in the Big Ten. Some changes, though, on the staff, including a new offensive coordinator, someone he's very familiar with in Barry Lunny, as the Illini look to continue on that upward trend. And pleased to have Bret Bielema with us here. And Coach, 4 conference wins last year. You beat 2 ranked teams. First time that had happened for Illinois in a couple decades. Put last season into perspective for us.
You know, everybody at this event, right, wants you to define success on the season. And I've always said, literally from the first year as a coach to where we are now, if you're better at the end of the year than to start the year, you're making progress. And, you know, we started off with a win against Nebraska week 0. We have another week 0 game this year with Wyoming. And our last regular season game, hopefully we'll get postseason play this year, was against Northwestern a year ago and is against this year as well. My hope is that we make as much gains this year as we did last year. I like our team. I like our roster. I love our staff. There's a really good vibe in the Smith Center right now, and hopefully going in the right direction.
How would you compare the league you left behind a decade or so ago to the one you re-entered last year? How did it compare in your first run through?
You know, Dave, I was, you know, coming into lead, I was, you know, played in this league. I assistant coach. I was a head coach. I think a couple things jumped out to me. Went to Purdue, right, and saw an environment there that I'd never seen in all my years of going to Purdue. Very, very a loud crowd, live crowd, really tough environment. You know, we went on the road to Penn State, and it just seemed like it was louder and more engaged, especially 9 overtimes. It really got loud. But I think just overall in the conference, you know, I have unbelievable respect for Fitz. You know, one of the things that jumped out to me, they lost to Northwestern 6 times, right? And I could just tell the demeanor that I'm like, you got to respect what they've done, right? And I put up a stat the last 5 years in conference play, Nebraska or Northwestern or Wisconsin had won the West. To get to where we want to go, we have to beat these people, and the first thing we had to do is respect them, and I think they did. That's why that end of the year to finish the way they did made a big statement.
Coach, you made the change on the offensive side. How have the kids adapted to it, and do you have the system in completely where they're going to be able to go to training camp and really just be able to refine what they need?
You know, Howard, as you know, when I took this job, I told Josh there's probably never been a better time, in my opinion, for a new coach to come in. With the COVID rules, the way they laid out, it was just it allowed me to do my job, I think, on the front end very, very well. The flip side of that, never in college football have we been able to be on the field during the summer with a football. And Josh, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so we were able to have as coaches around our players during the summer for a couple hours every week, and I think that really has helped exactly what you're saying. I think the X's and O's are there. It's really the communication during a tempo system. But I think Barry's got our players excited. I think, as you probably talked to our guys here today, they're excited on the offensive side about the scheme and the way we're playing.
I know one of the things that you wanted to do when you came in was to revamp recruiting, and now you have the opportunity not only to develop through high school, but you can go into the portal to get some guys as well. What has been your overarching philosophy when it comes to recruiting?
Yeah, well, first, when I came in, I'm from the state, right? I played Illinois high school football, and I know for Illinois to be Illinois at its best, they need to recruit the state of Illinois. So we signed 22 high school kids, 11 of them are from the state of Illinois. Howard's son still gave me a stiff arm, but other than that, we did pretty well in state. But I think we're beginning to make the inroads in the programs that are going to always have good players. And then we really reached, you know, people joke us, we really recruit Jersey, Florida, and the Midwest, and that's really about it. We haven't really dabbled much outside of that.
How about the leadership of the team? How have you seen that develop?
You know, I think that overall the leadership has been a step in the right direction. Not that it was bad last year, but I think they understand what the message means now, right? You can regurgitate. We talk all the time about tough, smart, dependable, but I think they know what that means now. Wide receivers can be tough just as much as O-linemen, right? A corner can be just as tough as a D tackle, and I think they conceptually know that now a little bit better, and that's what's got me excited.
And one of the things you set up at the podium is that you had some strapped-up young guys who were wearing sneakers with no ties with their suits, and that's indicative of the changing landscape of college football right now. As you start to look at that landscape, how do you evaluate it?
Well, I think it's awesome. I think as a 52-year-old coach, compared to when I was in mid-30s and I got my first job, you know, I remember going in, I had a hat rule forever, right? I couldn't wear a hat in a team meeting room. I go to the New England Patriots, we won the Super Bowl, and the first team meeting, Belichick had a hat on, right? Like, I mean, the whole room had hats on. I'm like, okay, that really doesn't factor into winning. I remember my first coaches had an earring rule, right? It's just the evolution. I say those guys all look great, right? Like, I can't pull off the look they did, and it's they feel confident, they look great. I think the fun part about being a coach now is, like, the movies I grew up and I used to quote, they have no idea what they are, but you can kind of relate in a way that, hey, college football has never had a more exciting time. What they do on the field now will actually help them off the field, and to have some fun with that. And I think it's just a great way that college football is trending.
How about the quarterback position?
I'm excited. I think that, to be quite honest, last year, if you think about it, Brandon Peters came to Illinois as a transfer, right? And then I added Art Sitkowski. And as you guys know, that opening game, we named Brandon the starter, but he was out after the first quarter, and then Art stepped into that role and helped us win that game. Kind of the same thing now. Art's the returning starter, right, or the guy that's got the most playing experience. But Tommy DeVito came in from Syracuse. He's got a live arm. I think he's really fit well into our system. We got a young freshman, Donovan Leary. You might know his brother is at NC State, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And, of course, his little brother thinks he's better than his older brother. We'll see if that plays out. But I just love the room and the competition. And I think our offensive guys, wide receivers, I'll come over on Saturday morning at 6:30, or I'll come back Saturday night at 6:30, and we'll have guys out throwing on our grass field that I just never have seen that happen before. So I think our guys are all in.
You're playing in week 0 again this year. I know that's something that you lobbied for. You actually enjoy it. When a lot of coaches would run from that opportunity, what do you like most about playing in week 0?
It's a coaching cliche that probably most people think it's made up, but I really believe I've seen teams gain more from 1 to 2 in the year than any other jump in a week, right, and in the schedule. So I knew at the time we did it, it was actually opening at Wisconsin. The conference came in and revamped it. We're going to Indiana out of the gate, but I really wanted to have a home game. I knew I was going to have, as Dave pointed out, we have the least returning production. So I wanted to have a game at home, and that's what lobbied it. But it does give us 2 bye weeks, so we've done very well on bye weeks, and to do a week 0 game, it does give us those double bye weeks.
I want to talk about the improvement in your defense last year. You and I were talking about it earlier today, right before you went on the podium. I mean, that was the thing that stood out to me the most, because it was the area where, frankly, I think Illinois had struggled the most prior to when you showed up. To go from 97th to 29th in the nation in terms of defense in 1 year. Give us a sense of what makes Ryan Walters so special, and how he was able to turn it around as quickly as he did.
Without a doubt, the thing that Ryan has is complete confidence. Like, he's a very confident person. He's small in stature. I always give him a hard time about his Lululemons and his fancy shoes, but he has a great way of rapport with our players. And then on game day, he's a madman. Like, I've had to pull him off the sidelines. I'm usually the guy getting yelled at for being on the sidelines, out on the grass. And at the end of the game against Nebraska or Northwestern, they were going to score, and the game was kind of out of touch, and he's almost getting a penalty for being on the field. So I think our guys recognize basically the competitiveness of him. And then, Ryan doesn't carry a game day sheet, right? It's all in his head. And I've been around coaches that try to do that and shouldn't be doing it, but he's one of those guys. It keeps it small. It keeps it simple. I think our players, like, they're always in his office. He's always in his meeting rooms. His ability to communicate to the youth of our team is awesome.
Isaiah Williams, he's here with you. How's he developed, not only as a player after position change, but also as a leader?
Howard, one of the greatest things that happened this summer, we have some occasional team meetings. I call it Football 101, where we kind of talk about things other than football. And Isaiah was invited, I believe it was down to Dallas, for basically a seminar, a conference, and other student athletes there. And he went down, and it was in early June. So around Juneteenth, I had a team meeting, and basically had Isaiah speak to the team. And our guys literally, I just got chills now. Like, he gave a message that was like, something just changed, right? Like, I'd heard about the leadership that he had and stuff, but I think it kind of got tough on him here, a lot of pressure on him, and you can just see the confidence. I rode over with him last night. When we drive over, I like to fire questions at him, and I've had several people come up to me today and talk about how Isaiah has been so impressive. There's just a different buzz to him right now that I think is coming out of his shell.
Win or loss, when another team walks off of the football field, what do you want them to say about Illinois football?
Probably a little bit of that DNA speech, right? I think I love to read when we are getting ready to play a team, and especially after we play and hopefully win, about the toughness that our team plays. I think hopefully we play with we're a smart team. We don't. I say it all the time. It sounds silly. Like I think when my players first heard it, more games are lost than won. Like I get it. Every game is won, but a lot of times, and I learned this actually when I was at Wisconsin. Right, there was teams that were in a position to beat us, but they just couldn't sustain it for 4 quarters, and they would give the game away in a certain way, either in a crunch moment or, penalties, mental errors, and turnovers is the easiest way to lose a game. And I think if we can eliminate that and make teams earn it, right, I can live with that.
Head coach of the Fighting Illini, Bret Bielema. Coach, thanks so much for your time. Always great to visit with you.